What if I told you that the technique or method that you use to study doesn't actually matter that much? And the real difference between someone who learns quickly and someone who struggles for years isn't intelligence or hours spent or even latest productivity hack. It's something that most people have never heard of. It's called metacognition. And once you understand it, you will never look at the learning the same way again. If you ever felt like you're putting in the work but the results aren't showing up, or you keep switching strategies without real progress, this is for you. Today I'm going to show you exactly how to build this skill so you can finally take control of your own brain while it learns. Here's exactly what we are going to cover in this video. We are going to break it down into three parts. First, I'll explain you what metacognition really is and why it's way more powerful than any study tip out there. Second, I'll show you what metacognition actually does for you and how it turns an average learning session into a massive breakthrough. And third, I'll walk you through the exact process to start training your metacognition, including a simple daily practice that you can begin today that most people never discover. So let's start with the basic. What is metacognition? Metacognition is literally cognition about cognition, thinking about your own thinking. If your brain is having thoughts, that's cognition. But if you're aware that those are just thoughts, you're noticing it. And that's how thinking works. And there is a spectrum to it. At the basic level, you might just notice that you're struggling with a difficult concept. You feel stuck. That's lower level of metacognition. At the higher level, you're not just aware that you're struggling, but you know why you're struggling. You're tracking your strategy, what you're using, why it's failing, and you actively switch to a better one mid-session. That shift is where the magic happens. Research from the psychologist John Flavel, who first coined the term metacognition in his groundbreaking 1979 paper in American Psychologist, described that it is our ability to monitor and regulate our own cognitive processes. And neuroscience backs this up big time. Other studies using the TMS have even shown that temporarily disrupting the lateral prefrontal cortex impairs your ability to accurately judge your own performance, proving that it's not just correlation, the prefrontal cortex is casually involved in metacognition. But here's the thing, this skill is incredibly hard to develop. And the reason is simple but brutal. Your thoughts are completely invisible. There is no mirror that you can look into that this is what exactly is happening inside your brain while you're learning. You cannot pinpoint to a specific neural pathway and say, that's the problem. It's like trying to debug the software, but you cannot even see the code. And the lack of visibility is exactly why learning to learn feels so much harder than learning almost anything else. As we get older, our brains naturally crystallizes certain pathways of thinking. The mental flexibility that we had as a kid starts to drop, and the pattern that was once helpful maybe in the school or work becomes now our default. And of course they work great in certain cases, but not in everything else. Without metacognition, you hit the ceiling. You feel like you're just there, maybe not smart enough on a certain topic. But the truth is that you just have not learned how to shift that thinking pattern yet. Now, let's talk about what metacognition actually does for you in the real life. The technique does not matter nearly as much as how you think while you are using the technique. Great metacognition lets you reflect in the real time, catch when something is not really working, and course correct before you waste a lot of hours. This is why some people can use the exact same study method and get dramatically different results, because one person is just going through the motion and the other person is constantly monitoring. Am I understanding this, or am I just being familiar with the words? And the second person is using metacognition, and the results compound fast. Studies show that this isn't just theory. Meta-analysis on metacognitive instruction prove that training this skill leads to better academic performances, stronger problem solving, and even higher retention rates. In short, metacognition does not just help you learn, it can help you how to learn better every single time. But how do you actually train it? The biggest challenge is the visibility. You need to build a system, which I called it as radar for your own thinking. And the doorway into the radar is something that you have already experienced every time that you study mental effort. That feeling when the problem feels hard, that's your brain telling you that something important is happening. Here's exactly what you do in the exercise. I want you to start this week. Grab a sheet of paper and draw down a middle line and label left side as P, P for passive, and right side as A for active. Next time you sit down to learn anything, maybe reading a book, watching a lecture, or just going and working through the material, start in the active mode. Force yourself into the perspective of someone who's about to teach this to a skeptical audience. You're not just absorbing, you're preparing to explain it, defend it, and answer the questions about it. As you go, stay alert in that particular moment. Your brain drifts into a passive mode. You'll feel it. The mental load drops and you start daydreaming. You're reading words but not processing them. Or you get drowsy even though you're not tired. And the second you catch it, write the quick P on the left side and one line note about what happened. Then consciously re-engage. Reframe to the next section as you're teaching it. Test yourself or summarize it in your own word. Mark A when you're back to the active mode. Do this for a few sessions. At first, you will be shocked at how much time you are spending passively. For most people, it's over 90% of their study time. But here's the beautiful part. The more you do this exercise, the better your radar gets. Research on the active versus passive learning consistently shows that the active engagement leads to far better retention and deeper understanding on the topic because it forces your brain into those higher orders of the thought patterns. Within about a month of consistent efforts and practice, maybe around 10 hours a week, most people can reliably detect when they are slipping into the passive mode. From there, switching back again to the active strategy becomes almost automatic. And that usually takes another 1 to 2 weeks. That's it. Once your radar is sharp, the second part of the training kicks in. Learn a little bit about learning science itself. You don't need to become the expert. You just need those guiding principles so you know what active actually looks like. Thinking about retrieval, things like retrieval practice, spaced repetition, elaboration, and concrete examples, the evidence-based strategies that actually move the needle. When you understand why they work, your metacognition has something useful to steer it forward. The bottom line is metacognition is the skill that makes every other learning skill work better. It's not flashy, but it is one thing that compounds over time and turns you into a kind of learner that you can tackle anything. And here's what happens when you do it right. It opens those doors of learning and track your passive and active focus sessions. Track it, build that radar. And once you do it, you will stop hallucinating while you're learning and you will always be in the driver's seat in the active mode. If this resonates with you, you need to practice and become that better learner. Check out the next series where I am actually going to talk about the neuroscience of how different practice methods are going to pitch in and make you even upskill yourself faster than anything. You've got this. Make sure your brain works smarter every day, not just harder. If you really like it, please do comment. I'll see you in the next one.